God of Wrath to me is God tier. It's going to be the top of the list throughout the whole of the series. Nothing will change that. Then I picked this up. And it just completely blew me away. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be filming my July reading wrap up. So I'm going to be going over all of the books I read in July with a quick summary of each one, my ratings and exactly what I thought about them. I am so excited to film this video because I actually had a really good reading month and a lot of the books that I read I rated pretty highly. These shelves literally arrived yesterday and I filled them with all of my books, and I have made a library room which I'm just so obsessed with. It's honestly been my dream for so long to make a library room. There are a lot more shelves off camera, so if you guys would like a bookshelf tour, then please let me know in the comments because I would love to film one of those. So the first book that I read at the start of July was Ward D by Freida McFadden, and I rated this book 3 stars. So in this book we are following Amy, who is spending her first night working at a psychiatric unit, and basically things just keep going wrong. She feels really uneasy at this unit, and we also do find out that she has some sort of connection towards one of the patients at the unit as well. A lot happens in this. A lot of the patients go missing and she finds a lot of weird and dangerous things. She also gets trapped in the unit with literally no way out, which I thought was really cool. I did love that aspect of the book. When I was reading this, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a page turner. I read it really quick and I absolutely loved how there was a lot of mental health representation in this book. Even though it wasn't done perfectly, I still really enjoy reading about psychiatric units and thrillers that are based in one. I just find that really interesting. However, when it came to the plot twist at the end, I wasn't really too impressed. I didn't guess it, but it was one of those plot twists that are so obvious you're left thinking, yeah, I could have kind of guessed that. I love when I read a thriller and the plot twist is so left field and I just know that there is no way in hell that I would have guessed what has actually gone down. This didn't give me that. It didn't give me that complete shock factor. Even though it was quite a shocking book, the plot twist for me is what lowered my rating slightly to 3 stars. I think if the plot twist was a bit more thought out and it was a bit more left field, I genuinely probably would have gave this 4 or 5 stars because I did really enjoy reading it and I thought it was such a page turner. However, I would still recommend this to anyone who wants to read a psychological thriller because at the end of the day, it's still a really fast-paced book. It's still got those themes of psychological aspects and I generally enjoyed my time reading this. So the next book that I read is God of Ruin by Rina Kent. If you guys aren't already aware, this is part of the Legacy of God series, which is a dark college romance series that has a lot of mafia elements as well. Mia wants revenge for people that wronged her family until Landon comes into play, and then things basically just unfold from there. I absolutely loved both characters in this book. I loved Mia's character because one, she was such a badass bitch, and also the fact that she was mute and she had to write everything down. I just loved that aspect of this book. I thought that it was something really different. You know, you don't really read a lot of books where their main form of communication is sign language or writing stuff down. I found that really interesting. And I loved how Landon was an artist and how Mia kind of became his muse. I thought that was really cool. I loved his whole personality, everything about Landon. To me, he gives a Bridgerton guy, but make him dark. That is what it gave to me. He had the charm of a Bridgerton guy, but he was obviously really morally grey, and I just thought that was such a cool mix of personality. I just really enjoyed that. There are 6 books in the Legacy of God series. This one made it into 3rd place, so I definitely really enjoyed it, and I also rated it 5 stars. The next book that I read is This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. This follows Eliza, who is basically a servant, but we find out that she is a long lost heir to a kingdom, and she is forced to completely hide her identity. That's when Cameron, our MMC, comes into play, and he basically, Loki gets ordered to kill her. Obviously, he doesn't want to kill her because he finds her really attractive and he likes her. So when I jumped into this, I obviously was really excited because it's by the same author who wrote the Shatter Me series, which is absolutely god tier to me. If you don't know, I am obsessed with the Shatter Me series. But I didn't feel like this was as good. I actually read this in a reading vlog and I think I rated it 3.5 stars. However, if I was to go back, thinking of it now, I would probably rate this 2.5 stars. I haven't really thought of it since. I know this series is meant to be a slow burn, so if you enjoyed this series and you think I should maybe continue reading, please let me know. I genuinely felt like not a lot happened in this book. I don't know, I was kind of a little bit disappointed with the romance, even though it was really atmospheric and it was kind of like a dreamy fantasy vibe that I really enjoyed. I felt like the romance wasn't fleshed out at all and it was kind of put to the side, which I know obviously this is a fantasy book, so fantasy is going to be one of the main elements of the story, but I just wasn't really feeling the connection too much between the 2 main characters. So then I read the next book in the Legacy of God series after God of Ruin, which is God of Fury. This is an romance which follows Nikolai and Brandon. Brandon is sort of a quiet, golden boy kind of vibe, can do no wrong. And then he meets Nikolai, who turns his world upside down. He doesn't actually know whether he is into men, but then Nikolai obviously changes all of that for him. I really enjoyed this. I think out of all of the Legacy of Gods books, this probably had the sweetest and most wholesome romance. It wasn't my favourite, but it wasn't my least favourite. I think I rated this 5th in the series. However, I did give it 4 stars. I definitely do want to read more romances because I really had a good time with this. Then I read the last book in the Legacy of God series, which is God of War. And oh my god, I absolutely loved this. I actually ended up writing this first out of every single Legacy of Gods books. I just devoured this book. I remember I was reading the series and I said, okay, literally nothing is going to top God of Wrath. God of Wrath to me is god tier. It's going to be the top of the list throughout the whole of the series. Nothing would change that. Then I picked this up. And it just completely blew me away. This book is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I related to Ava so much. I loved Eli's character. I loved their romance, and I also loved the mental health representation that we got in this. I loved the plot line, which was actually really unique because basically she wakes up in hospital and realises that she has completely forgotten 3 years of her life. And in those 3 years, she actually married Eli, but she can't remember doing that. I genuinely can't even explain to you how much this book made me feel and how special this story is to me, how special these 2 characters are to me. I just absolutely loved her. I loved how in the other book she was painted as, such a girly girl and a party girl, and that was really her own personality, and she didn't really have any more traits to her, but then in this book we dive in so deep to her mental health and we learn so much more about her, and there was so many things that I related to her on as well. This blew my mind. This absolutely blew my mind. I wish I could reread it again for the first time. Oh, and obviously I rated this book 5 stars. I mean, technically 6 stars because it was absolutely insane. Then I read the first book to the Zodiac Academy series, which is called The Awakening. So they grew up in a human world, you know, just like everyone else. And then one day the professor of the Zodiac Academy school kind of thing turns up at their house and basically says, look, you belong at this school and you are both heirs to the magical world of Solaria. So then they are taken to the Zodiac Academy school to learn how to control their powers. Everyone in the Zodiac Academy school, they all have star signs, like zodiac signs, but also they have their own powers within that. So these twins are actually Geminis, but they find out when they get there that they hold 4 different elements. This is basically unheard of in the school. This is like really, really rare, and everyone's like, oh my god. Everyone kind of hates them for it. Everyone's like really jealous. I loved this. I rated this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I absolutely cannot wait to read more of the Zodiac Academy series. I actually only have the first 3 books, so we'll have to see whether I get that addicted that I'm going to end up reading them on Kindle before I buy the paperbacks. Also, the paperbacks are really expensive, but that doesn't really bother me because they're so pretty and I just love the covers of these. I'm a little bit intimidated about reading the rest of the series because it's such a long series. There are so many novellas, but I just know I'm gonna love this. I mean, this is also a bully romance. It's very enemies to lovers. It's also obviously fantasy, and there is a lot to do with zodiac signs and astrology, and I am huge on that kind of thing. I really, really love that. So I feel like this is definitely going to be God tier for me when I carry on reading. Then next I read Restitution, which is the 3rd book in the Age of Darkness trilogy, my absolute holy grail. I can't believe I finished this series so quickly. How do I begin to explain how I feel about Cade and Stacey? I don't know. I just kind of want to cry thinking about them and thinking about everything that they went through. So if you have been living under a rock or you don't read a lot of dark romance, this follows our main characters, Cade and Stacey. Basically, we find out that they break up when they were really young, and it's kind of a second chance romance of them finding their way back together. But don't get me wrong, this is not without the hardships. This is not without the pain and the hurt and the struggles, and everything these characters went through is absolutely heartbreaking. I will never ever forget about this trilogy and what it means to me. If I could pick a series to read for the rest of my life again and again, it would be Edge of Darkness, because my god, absolutely insane. Phenomenal. I don't think there will ever be a dark romance series or book that will give me the same feeling this gave me. It made me sob, it made me feel happy and joy, it made me excited. The spice was 10 out of 10, the dark themes were done so well, and I just absolutely love this. What are you doing? What are you doing? I did rate this 5 stars as well. I would personally put this into my god tier, so technically 6 stars. Also, apparently Bella loves this book as well. So the next book that I read is The Fabric of Our Souls, which is a dark romance that follows 2 main characters who are both admitted to a psychiatric ward or rehab kind of place. Basically, Wynne wants to end her life, whereas Liam really wants to harm himself. This is pretty dark. not necessarily the smut that is dark. What I found dark about this book is mainly the themes of mental health and stuff like that. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to read. The love that they develop for each other is so toxic, but it's so amazing at the same time. You are, even though it's toxic, you are definitely rooting for the two main characters to be together and to find happiness, and they help each other so much in this book. They also meet another guy in the rehab place, so it kind of turns into like a bit of a trio dynamic, which I really enjoyed. And I actually read this, I didn't cry the entire way through, and then as soon as I put this book down I started sobbing, because that ending, if you know, then you fucking know. And I also gave this one 4 stars. So the next book that I read, which is also made it into my god tier, is Nocticadia by Keri and Leigh. This was amazing. This is a professor-student dark academia romance book. It follows our two main characters, Lilia and Deverick Bramwell, and she basically gets an offer to go to this really prestigious university where loads and loads of really clever people go. There's not many people who go there. She has to travel there by ship, I believe, because it's on a complete separate island. I loved them vibes. I loved the way that they painted that atmosphere. I thought it was really cool. And we also find out at the start of the book that her mum dies from a mysterious illness that involves parasites. Professor Bramwell, who is the MMC in this book, knows a lot about these parasites. He basically teaches all the students about it and stuff. So as well as Lilia falling for Professor Bramwell, vice versa, we also have a lot of mystery in this, and there is her really wanting to get to know more information on the illness that killed her mom. I love the vibes in this. This is a perfect dark academia sort of atmospheric book, and I could just literally imagine myself in the pages throughout most of this. I just felt like I was so immersed in the story, and when I finished this book, all I wanted to do was reread it. The last book that I read in July was Beautiful Fiend by Lola King. I rated this one 5 stars because I was absolutely obsessed. I can't wait to read the rest of this series. I'm going to jump into the other books very soon. This follows our two main characters, Billy and Caden, and they are both really desperate to get out of this kind of dodgy, dangerous place that they live in called the North Shore. They're also part of gangs who are rival gangs, so there's a bit of forbidden romance in there as well. I thought this was genuinely probably the darkest book that I've read so far, but mainly the smut in this book is quite dark. I ate that up. So that is the end of all of the books that I read in July. Thank you so much for watching and continuing to support my new channel that I have here on booktube. I really do appreciate it, and I really appreciate everybody who likes and subscribes or drops a comment. I just absolutely love reading the comments and what you guys have to say about all of my videos, and yeah, it just makes me really happy, and I'm so glad that I have people to support me on my journey of booktube. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.